The military chiefs in the Sahel region are making history and sending shockwaves worldwide. After Captain Ibrahim Traoré of Burkina Faso impressed not only his people, but countries around the world, now the military chief of Niger is doing the same. Even he is taking it one step further. When Niger kicked out French troops and companies, everyone believed there would be a change of masters only. In other words, Russian and Chinese companies would take their place, and the same cycle of exploitation would continue. However, they were wrong, because now, Niger's military chief ordered high-level Chinese executives and Chinese mining companies to pack and leave. Since they were not taking the mining laws seriously, they had to be told who was in charge now. But what laws did they break, which proves Niger wants its sovereignty to be protected, even if it means ending ties with new allies? In this video, let's know about the whole story. A powerful shift is unfolding in Africa, and this time, it's Niger that is making history. After years of foreign corporate dominance over the country's resources, Niger's military leadership has sent a resounding message to the world that the era of unchecked foreign exploitation is over. In a stunning move, General Abdourahmane Chiani, Niger's head of state, ordered the immediate expulsion of high-ranking Chinese oil executives and key Chinese mining companies. These corporations were given just 48 hours to leave Niger's soil, marking one of the most decisive actions taken by an African nation against foreign economic interests in recent history. This announcement comes after similar bold moves by neighboring Burkina Faso and Mali, where military leaders have also been challenging foreign control over Africa's vast natural resources. But what makes Niger's decision even more significant is the fact that it has gone beyond just pushing out Western corporations. It has now targeted Chinese firms, proving that this new wave of African leadership is not merely replacing one foreign power with another. Instead, it is fundamentally redefining who controls Africa's wealth. However, to truly understand the magnitude of this decision, we must know about the laws these companies violated. For decades, Niger's vast natural resources, particularly oil, uranium, and gold, have been the foundation of foreign corporate wealth, while the Nigerian people remained among the poorest populations in the world. Whether under French or American control, Niger's economy was dominated by exploitative contracts, allowing foreign companies to extract wealth with little regard for local economic development. These corporations operated monopolies over resource extraction, ensuring that only a fraction of the profits ever reached Niger's economy. While the Nigerian government struggled with budget deficits, unemployment, and underdeveloped infrastructure, billions of dollars in resource wealth flowed out of the country into the pockets of foreign executives and investors. This system of economic neo-colonialism was largely uncontested by Niger's previous governments, many of which were heavily influenced by Western and Eastern powers. In return for turning a blind eye to the injustices of corporate plunder, Niger's leaders received political protection and financial incentives. However, the tide began to turn in July 2023, when the Nigerian military overthrew the Western-backed regime of President Mohamed Bazoum. Under the leadership of General Abdourahmane Chiani, the military junta declared that foreign companies would no longer be allowed to exploit Niger's wealth with impunity. The new government wasted no time in implementing major economic reforms aimed at breaking free from foreign control. The most significant of these reforms was the 2024 amendment to Niger's mining and energy regulations, which restructured the country's approach to resource management. The goal was simple: ensure that Niger's natural wealth benefits its own people first, not foreign corporations. Under the new law, foreign companies were required to prioritize Nigerian workers over imported labor. This provision was introduced in response to Chinese firms importing their own workers from China, while denying Nigerians access to high-paying jobs in their own country. The new employment regulations mandated that companies must hire local workers whenever possible, ensuring that Nigerians, not foreign workers, reap the economic benefits of their nation's resources. Another key provision required foreign corporations to use Nigerian subcontractors instead of foreign suppliers. It was no secret that foreign companies, particularly in the oil and mining sectors, funneled money back to their home countries by awarding contracts to Chinese or European subcontractors rather than local businesses. To put an end to this capital outflow, the Nigerian government demanded that local companies be prioritized for contracts related to extraction, transportation, and logistics. Fair wages were also a major issue. Nigerian workers in foreign-controlled industries were frequently underpaid, while their foreign counterparts earned significantly higher salaries for the same work. The new mining law introduced a mandatory fair wage system, requiring companies to increase salaries for Nigerian employees to meet industry standards. Additionally, foreign corporations were ordered to reinvest a portion of their earnings into local infrastructure and communities. Despite generating billions of dollars in revenue from Niger's oil and mineral industries, these companies had historically failed to contribute to local development. Schools, hospitals, and roads remained severely underfunded, while foreign investors extracted immense wealth from Niger's land. The new law required corporations to directly fund community projects, ensuring that at least a portion of Niger's resource wealth stayed within the country. These reforms marked a turning point in Niger's economic history, signaling that the era of unregulated foreign exploitation was over. However, not all companies complied with the new regulations, especially Chinese oil giants like the China National Petroleum Corporation, CNPC, the West African Oil Pipeline Company, WAPCO, and the refinery, SORAS. That's because they believed regulations didn't apply to them and that they could simply ignore them. Therefore, despite the Nigerian government's firm stance, Chinese companies refused to follow the new rules, continuing to operate as if the regulations did not apply to them. These corporations were found to be paying Nigerian workers unacceptably low wages while hiring Chinese employees for higher-paying positions, a direct violation of the new labor laws. Nigerian workers in Chinese-run oil refineries and mines reported that their salaries were far below the newly established fair wage standards, while Chinese subcontractors still controlled most of the lucrative contracts. Equally troubling was the failure of these companies to reinvest in Niger. Despite the government's requirement that foreign firms fund community projects, Chinese corporations failed to meet their financial commitments, continuing to extract resources at record levels while leaving Nigerian communities behind. Tensions escalated further when Niger's Ministry of Tourism launched an investigation into Chinese-operated businesses, accusing them of discriminatory practices against Nigerians. One of the most controversial cases involved the Solux International Hotel in Niamey, a Chinese-owned establishment that was found guilty of administrative violations and discriminatory treatment of local Nigerians. In response, the Nigerian government revoked the hotel's operating license permanently, further increasing hostilities between Niger and China. As these violations continued to mount, General Chiani's patience ran out. With the economic sovereignty of Niger at stake, the military leadership decided to take drastic action. Before we continue further, tell us, are you enjoying the video? If yes, please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos on Black Africa. Let's continue now. On March 12, 2025, General Chiani and the Nigerian military government delivered a historic ultimatum, ordering the immediate expulsion of senior executives from CNPC, WAPCO, and SORAS. These officials were given just 48 hours to leave Niger, marking one of the boldest moves in modern African economic history. The announcement sent shockwaves through the global economic and political landscape. China, which had positioned itself as Africa's primary economic partner, suddenly found itself facing resistance from a country it once viewed as a strategic ally. The expulsion of Chinese executives was not just an economic decision. It was a declaration of Niger's sovereignty, proving to the world that Niger's military leadership would not tolerate foreign exploitation any longer. For years, critics of Niger's anti-French movement had claimed that expelling French corporations and military forces would simply open the door for Chinese and Russian dominance. But this move shattered that assumption. Niger was not just replacing Western exploiters with Chinese or Russian ones. It was fundamentally restructuring its economic future to ensure self-sufficiency and true independence. The expulsion of Chinese oil executives is more than just a national dispute. It is a watershed moment in Africa's fight for economic independence. Niger's government has sent an unambiguous message to all foreign investors that they should respect Niger's laws, treat Nigerians fairly, and reinvest in the country, or leave. This move also sets a dangerous precedent for foreign corporations across Africa. Niger is not alone in this fight. It is part of a growing regional movement where countries like Burkina Faso and Mali are also rejecting foreign control over their economies. Together, these nations have cut ties with Western financial institutions like ECOWAS, forming the Alliance of Sahel States to promote regional self-sufficiency and resource nationalism. If Niger succeeds in rewriting the rules of foreign business, other African nations may follow suit, demanding fairer deals from Western, Chinese, and Russian corporations. The global economic order depends on African resources, and if African nations start demanding a fair share, the balance of power will shift dramatically. However, this fight is far from over. China, France, and other global powers will not relinquish their control over Niger's wealth without a battle. Economic sanctions, diplomatic pressure, and financial retaliation are likely on the horizon. But for now, Niger has taken a historic stand. It has proven that Africa's wealth belongs to Africans, and any corporation that refuses to respect that will be shown the door. What makes this move so groundbreaking is that Niger is not simply rejecting Western influence, only to embrace China as an alternative. When Niger expelled French troops and uranium companies in 2023, many analysts assumed that the country would soon become a client state of Russia and China. The prevailing belief was that these new global powers would fill the economic vacuum left by France's exit, continuing the same cycle of extraction and dependency under a different flag. But Niger has shattered that assumption. By expelling Chinese companies, the military leadership is making it clear that Niger will no longer be a playground for any foreign power, whether from the West or the East. This is not just a change of masters, but a radical shift in how Niger envisions its economic future. This stance also aligns Niger with its regional allies, Burkina Faso and Mali, who have also been taking drastic measures to sever their economic dependence on foreign corporations. Together, these three countries have formed the Alliance of Sahel States, a coalition that has already broken away from ECOWAS and is seeking stronger regional economic integration. The AES represents a new model for Africa, one where countries work together to control their own resources instead of relying on foreign intervention. Interestingly, the shockwaves of Niger's decision extend far beyond its borders. This is not just a national dispute over contracts. It is a direct challenge to the global economic system that has long depended on Africa's resources being cheaply extracted. By standing up to China in the same way it stood up to France, Niger is setting a precedent for other African nations to do the same. The immediate fallout is already being felt. China's state-owned enterprises have been caught off guard, and Beijing now faces a difficult decision. Will it attempt to negotiate a new deal with Niger, conceding to the junta's demands? Or will it take a hardline stance, risking its broader economic influence in Africa? It's yet to be seen. At the same time, Western nations are paying close attention, realizing that this trend of African self-assertion is not limited to Niger alone. France has already been pushed out of Mali and Burkina Faso, and now China is facing similar resistance in Niger. If more African nations begin to demand fairer deals for their resources, the entire balance of power in global trade could shift dramatically. For centuries, the narrative surrounding Africa has been one of dependency and exploitation, a continent rich in resources but lacking the power to control them. From European colonial rule to the more modern form of economic neocolonialism, Africa's wealth has been extracted to fuel the prosperity of other nations. But Niger's military government is changing that. The decision to expel Chinese corporations is proof that African nations can and will take control of their economic destinies. If Niger succeeds in restructuring its resource management on its own terms, it will inspire other African countries to do the same. In Ghana and Nigeria, discussions about renegotiating oil contracts with foreign firms have already begun. Zimbabwe and the Democratic Republic of Congo, both major players in the global lithium and cobalt markets, may soon demand better deals for their minerals. If this trend continues, the old economic order, where Africa's wealth benefits only foreign powers, could be permanently dismantled. The road ahead will not be easy. Niger, like Burkina Faso and Mali, faces immense pressure from global economic giants who have no intention of giving up control over the continent's resources without a fight. Sanctions, diplomatic pressure, and even economic sabotage may be used to force Niger to back down. But for now, Niger has made history. This is no longer just about Chinese companies or French corporations. This is about Africa reclaiming its sovereignty. And as more African nations watch what happens next, the question remains: will Niger's revolution spark a continent-wide movement? Or will foreign powers fight to keep Africa's wealth under their control? One thing is certain: the battle for Africa's resources has only just begun. After this moment, every African country has realized that no country should be considered a partner and ally by default. Africa has now known that every country that is offering a helping hand or support wants something in return. And that's not wrong, as long as their demands are not unfair and exploitative. From now on, African countries should ensure that no matter which foreign companies are working, all of them should be audited and kept an eye on to ensure they follow all laws and regulations. However, if they are allowed to use loopholes, the new wave of freedom and true self-sufficiency that is starting will be of no use. What do you think? Did Niger do the right thing by stopping the Chinese mining company the moment it violated the laws to create an example out of it? Isn't it true that if the African countries with military leaders don't do it, this would mean exactly the same as it was before them? In the comment section right below, share your thoughts on Niger using its authority and doing something never seen before. Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If yes, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon next to it. We bring videos on Black Africa, its history, rich arts and culture, and things the world should know about. Thanks for watching, and until the next video, stay tuned.